next item is item 4.3 OCP bylaw amendment application number 3000-33. We have a motion.
Moved by Councillor Udan, seconded by Councillor Cannon. And again, Your Worship, the motion is as contained on page 43 and 44 of the agenda.
Thank you, Your Worship. This application involves two properties, 1341 and a portion of 1381 30th Street Northeast. The purpose of there's three development applications. One is to change the UP from medium density residential to high density residential. One is to own the same area of land, R1 single family residential zone to R5 high density residential zone, and to approve a development permit as well. And the purpose is for a 52 unit townhouse project as shown on the property shown on the screen. If the approvals are granted, what will occur is that the applicant plans to have two access roads off 30th Street, and it'll be phase 1, which is supposed to be townhouse units, and a second access route off 30th Street in the southern phase, which would be phase 2, and that would incorporate 24 house units as well. The units in the site, as part of the discussion, the applicant has offered to register on title as being available as rental units for a 10-year period from the time of building permit. And staff believe that that is a good offer, a good proposal from the applicant. Let's move into some of the land use discussion a little bit. We'll come back to the design of the building. So as mentioned, the subject property is currently zoned R1 and designated density residential in the official community plan. In order to get the 52 units that are proposed, the applicant, in discussions with staff, we have felt the best proposal would be to change this property to high density residential, change it to the R5 zone, which, as council is aware, is our highest density zone, which we usually see in and around the downtown core. However, the actual development itself does not meet the maximum density and height that you could achieve within the high density residential zone. The other point would be that the permitted height under R5 is 12 as opposed to 10 meters in the R4 zone. But I'll work through this in a little more detail. And I guess further to that, the benefit I think of going to the high density in this station is you have it located in close proximity. You have recreation in the center of town in terms of the arena and the community center, as well as future commercial development. As we recently read in the paper, Askew's is interested in building at some point in the future a new store on these properties here. So staff is supportive of the OCP amendment to high density residential for this site, and believe that there's three larger properties to last year towards Bastion Elementary School that may be suited for higher residential densities as well. In order to, and then the accompanying zone with the high density residential designation in the OCP is, as mentioned, the R5 zone. And as part of that, that zoning on the site would permit up to 102 units without density bonusing, up to 133 units with density bonusing, as opposed to the R4 zone, which would permit 41 units and up to 51 units as well. The other thing that, and in order to, I guess, essentially the medium to the high, R4 to the R5, as mentioned, the applicant has offered to put a covenant on the 24/7 units to maintain them as rental units for a 10-year period of time. Under the R5 zone, there's no variance required and no variances requested. The units in the permitted height, they exceed the permitted or the required parking. 118 stalls are permitted on site. Will be accommodated on site in terms of parking per unit, as well as visitors parking as well. I guess the other interesting point with the design of these townhouses, what you see is a more urban form. Council has approved a development permit similar, in which there's a more of a vertical emphasis, being 3 stories in height, being single-car garages and using the land more efficiently. What we're seeing in Salmon Arm for the first time is that the parking on the ground floor, it's a single-car garage, but there's tandem parking to be used. There's enough space in the basement parking area or the ground floor parking area to accommodate 2 parking stalls. Based on parking requirement, the 2 parking stalls in this tandem arrangement aren't required to meet the zoning bylaw. With the tandem parking bylaw requirements are 10 for the overall. This may be used for, or this may be used for storage as well. Sometimes what we see is where you provide for a single garage unit. We'll probably all do this. A lot of that parking stall, that garage, that carport becomes so. There's enough space for storage as well as the second parking stall there as well. So just to emphasize, there's more than adequate enough parking for this development. Going to the R5 zone, as I mentioned, a lot more can be built on this site in terms of the number of units. So to essentially secure what the proposal is at this time, staff have requested and the applicant has agreed to register a Section 19 land title covers the minimum 52 units built on 102 or 133 could occur under the R5 zone. So that really locks in the number of units at 52. The covenant would ensure that 24 units are available as rental housing for a period of 10 years, as well as to ensure that the maximum height is no more than 12 meters. In the R5 zone, height can go up to 15 meters with the provision of special. The actual design of the buildings, staff are more than happy with the design in terms of the different detailing that's provided, as well as the selection of materials as well. And the site landscaping plan is more than acceptable as well in terms of providing for a multifamily development of this type. Staff are very supportive of the 3 applications. Essentially, this increases the type of housing that's available, probably a more affordable type of housing in this format, as well as an increased number of units in what we consider to be a very good location for multifamily housing. No variances, and as well as the 24 rental units will be available for a 10-year time period. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Elias.
Thank you, Your Worship. To you, Your Worship, which I know I read it in earlier. When was their anticipated date?
I guess there's 2 things. One, people like to do things, and when things may happen. Once the development permit is approved, they have 2 years to proceed under that development permit. However, I understand that the applicant is interested, if possible, in starting on this project in the fall to get started on it. And then the actual rental units, the way the covenant would be worded, it would be worded 10 years from the time of building permit. So the 10 years wouldn't start on Monday. The application is approved. It would start from the time the building permits are issued.
The Phase 2 building permits, or would they get all the building permits at the same time?
They come in, it's on a per building basis, so each fourplex there gets its own building permit.
Okay. So there's no guarantee. So if they build Phase 1 out, that gets built, and then they don't build Phase 2, when they come to the building permits for each building in Phase 2, that should be the rental units, and there's kind of that.
Is Phase 2, and it will be the southern Phase 2 where rental units occur.
Okay, perfect. I think this is a great idea. It maximizes the land that already has servicing in our infrastructure, so there's very little cost to the city for it. It'll provide hopefully housing for lower income at some point. Higher density is more accessible. Like you said, it's around schools, it's around parks, it's around recreation. It'll soon be around shopping, commercial, reducing the demand on our roads as well. So I'll vote in favor to move this forward and look forward to a public hearing.
Thank you. I'm a little curious, does the rental provision really get enforced? And what does the covenant say? Does it say it can't be stratified for 10 years? Does it say the developer has to hang on to that particular property? Or does it just say that it can't be owner occupied? For example, could I buy one and just not rent it? I mean, not live in it?
It's set up is that they certainly can be, and as I guess just the applicant, they could be stratified.
They could be stratified.
But they need to be available for rental.
It could be tough to enforce.
It could be tough to enforce, but it's the means that we have to enforce it.
Thank you. Anything further, Council? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Next we have video cameras.